Hello, welcome back. This is Brandon with Step Rock Media, and you're watching my program, Finding My Voice, where I'm giving myself advice from the future, advice from the past. I'm trying to become a professional, semi-professional voice actor. This part of the program is on dialects, how I got into it, how I work on it, and if I'm any good at all. In case you didn't guess, that's not actually my voice. Those of you who've seen me before know that's not my voice. Those of you who are from the UK also know that's not real. Though I did have a coworker that I asked who said, no, it sounds actually spot on. So I don't know if she was just faking or she actually thought it was any good. If you're from the UK and you'd like to critique me out there, I'd welcome your input. Be gentle, be nice, don't kill me, please. So I've been doing dialects pretty much all my life since I was a kid. You know, I hit my pop filter and then I realized it's all up in the mic anyway. It's an audio show, so there's going to be a mic. I've been doing dialects my entire life, ever since I was a kid. I would literally walk around talking with an Australian accent all day long. And as far as I'm concerned, if you can't hear voices in your head and you're a little bit crazy, you're probably in the wrong business anyway. I've found that there's a huge difference between doing something that's a fake put on kind of a voice and one that's a bit more authentic. With some of them, I've been trying a lot to get more into an authentic kind of a thing. And the big difference to me is being able to relax into it and not try so hard. People do different dialects and I think they try too hard. So with the UK one, you know, I'm just going to relax and just talk into it. And if anything, I think it's not coming out strong enough because I'm relaxing into it and letting a bit more of my own voice, my own tempo and way of speaking come through into it. If I was to switch over into an Irish kind of a voice, anybody could tell that's not real, it's not authentic. But the point is, if you're going to be a voice actor, to be able to switch off into characters. I did one the other day, which was, you know, this awful kind of a Scottish thing. I forget which actor I was imitating. Was it Colm Meaney? It might have been, but it got a great laugh from everyone. They loved it. If you cover your screen, don't actually look at me and look at it behind the face of a cartoon. It works a lot better. I think there's a great place for doing, you know, a crazy character voice. If I was going to tell you to walk the plank, you don't want it authentic, do you? No. So that's got a lot going on with it. You know, you get into, when I go up into the north, I start to put on a staccato kind of thing, but this isn't the way I would talk. So this is not me relaxing and doing something real. This is me doing a character. You know, it's not believable. You know, people who I know who are from the Bronx and from the Northeast, you can hear it, but it's not like they're talking in it, you know, in a strong kind of a way all the time, you know. So I think there's a really big difference between doing something authentic versus faked. And there is a place for both, but I think there's also to me, there's a whole lot of respect for the different regions. I don't do anything because I'm teasing or mocking or appropriating or whatever you want to say. I love the sound of different voices, and I love collecting them, and I love trying them on. I love rolling them around in my mouth. I love the way they feel. You can switch over to anything from the UK and you'll find out that there's a lot of elongated sounds and they just roll out, and I love the list and the flow of it, you know. And I assume that to their ears, English speakers in America probably sound like they have flattened everything off, and what in the world happened to our language? I'd like to apologize. You could take that a little bit further and you'd have another kind of a character altogether. The other one that I love to do, and this is crazy, this one is really connected back into the British accent, and that's why I say it's more about feel. If you can feel this sort of flow to it, it's not that big of a deal to switch off into a southern kind of an accent. You can hear a little bit of it in there. This is more of a modern southern accent. This one, I'll joke around with people. They say, how in the world do you do that southern accent? And I said, are you kidding me? All I got to do is stop trying so hard and it comes out. I am from the South originally, and I've done some voice work where people want a southern actor, a southern speaker, and it's really easy for me to switch into that because my ear is tuned to that. I can hear it. I grew up with it, you know, all around. I made an effort to not pick that up, but it's still in my head. It's still in my mouth. I can switch to it and not be, you know, not doing an imitation. I come by it honest. You know, you could take the boy out of the South, but you can't take the South out of the boy. Now, I don't know the difference between that and Texan. I can't get the difference there. You know, I could switch off and do something a little bit less stereotypical, or because one of the games I used to play with myself all the time was to take something and we're going to flow from this, and then we're going to slowly let it wander over into more of a UK thing. And once you're into the UK, it's not that big of a deal to start to let it slip a little bit more and roll in a few more R's. Then you've got to know other parts of the country entirely, you know. And I would do this tour of the world. I think my parents had me come out and do that for dinner guests just for fun. So thanks, Mom. Anyway, so trying on all these different accents is about being able to feel it, and the connection of it is really, really, really interesting. But then it starts to get to the place of wanting to understand more about the regions where they're from, you know, like what is a Manchester accent? I don't know. I don't know what Manchester versus North London. I know North London, they tend to say, you know, what they call TH fronting, where you say north instead of north. And these are some little bit of regional sort of things that you might be able to pick up on that's going to really set you apart if you're going to learn anything about the dialects, which I can do a little bit of a Michael Caine if I work on that one a bit more. Trying to imitate an actor that you see on film or television is very, very helpful, and they don't get mad when you repeat what they say. And it is very important to repeat exactly what they said, and by the way, to know that they're not faking it either. You know, you don't want to be faking some. I never knew if Crocodile Dundee was real or not, but here I was going around all day doing that one, so I picked up whatever the heck that was. The other one I did was I learned Ernest P. Worrell. You know, Ernest Goes to Camp. Jim Varney. He was on Toy Story. God rest his soul. I love that guy. Love that guy. I can't keep up with Mel Blanc. That's a man of 1,000 voices. Mel Blanc did Bugs Bunny and all those characters. Wow, that's a whole other level where you can take the pitch and the resonance and the growl and the depth. I mean, it's one thing for me to put on an accent, but for Mel Blanc to just whoosh, like a chameleon switch, amazing. I could keep up with Jim Varney pretty well. You know, he'd do all these different voices on his show, and I would try to imitate every single one of them, no matter what it was. So Ernest Goes to Camp, he'd switch off to a bunch of them and just do little joking around. You know, one of them we could switch off to do John Wayne, and you know, everybody has an imitation of the Duke, but it's not really him. It's a homage is what it is. But of course, if I switch off to do my Walter Brennan, it's not too far off, if you ask me. That's into my own ear. It's important to hear it off the playback to really know if you're any good or not. The other thing is, these modern kids don't even know who the heck Walter Brennan was. Tragic. The internet is a great resource too. There's people from all over the world putting out YouTube shows, and they're just speaking in their own natural voice, and you can listen to them and try to speak back what they were saying. You know, it's fantastic to have you on the show again. Welcome back. Today we're going to go out into the wild and we're going to find some wild bugs to eat. Who knows? So finding out what they're doing. The next one that I think I might start kicking around doing is, if you see me on Reddit asking anybody from actual parts of the world to try to critique anything that they've heard, or if you're on the show here and you heard it, listening to the playback, listen to the critique, listen to people saying work on this, work on that. You know, try to get better at it. Once you start combining that with different tempos, with different cadences, you really start to get something. But you have to be willing to embarrass yourself and to do very, very badly at first. I happen to know that my Russian is completely wrong. I heard someone tell me it's wrong. It sounds like somewhere in Eastern Bloc Europe, but not Russian. I know this. This is not right, but it worked perfectly well on the stage because American audiences don't know the difference. Tragic, but there you have it. It's true. I'm mocking us. I'm teasing on us. The truth is, American audiences frequently don't know the difference. They just know it's got a foreign sound to it, and it's good enough for performance, for being on stage, and some recordings. If they don't want an authentic, real kind of a voice, if they just need a character voice, a lot of times these dialects are close enough for government work in that case. The other one I started working on was Indian, and I don't have that one down, but I'm willing to embarrass myself right here on YouTube trying to show you that you do have to make an effort. You have to roll it around. You have to try. So here's me embarrassing myself just to let you know what it's like to embarrass yourself to try if nobody's listening, and I'm going to pretend the entire internet's not listening. I have a number of people that I know who are from India, and I will try to get their voice, but I am not doing it. There is a big difference between trying to do that and one that is a mockery of it. And I think that the big difference is on The Simpsons, we did, you're the book kind of a thing. That's a mockery, that's a stereotype. That's not what I'm going for. I'm trying to be more respectful of different people's dialects, and the people from India, there are so many different languages and sub-dialects. You'll know different people who've learned English, and their English-speaking accent is different from one another, because just like, in America, we've got a bunch of different dialects. In India, it's huge. The number of different fragments you've got, people speaking practically different languages from one another, from one block to the next. Really, it's just amazing, and it just really blows my mind. I also think there's a lot of British influence still in India, so when you hear that, there's that mix-in of British that you can hear. So if I were learning accents, the first one I would try to do is just a standard basic British accent. Listen to people and try to get that one down if you can. And from there, pick out a different one. And as I said, it's not that big of a deal to run from there into a southern kind of accent, because the South originally, America was these British colonies, and you can feel it still. If you learn how to do them, you can feel it in your mouth. This is like a retina scarlet kind of a thing, and it's not. This one's still a bit of an imitation. It's not quite as authentic. There are a few places where you're going to hear this sort of thing, like maybe if you're in Savannah, you're going to go down into the occasion, you're going to get a whole different kind of a thing. It sounds a little bit different there still again. And that one I don't quite have. The occasion a little bit I can get it a bit. I tend to slip from one to the next if I'm not careful, so if I was doing a script and recording and I could get some of the dialogue out, get enough of it, and I just have to make sure I don't slip into the wrong one in the middle. But anyway, that's my advice to you. Try to listen to people on the internet and start getting a feel for it. Be willing to embarrass yourself and to try, and above all else, to have respect for the dialect that you're trying to do. Like, I can't stress that enough. I've never done a dialect wanting to tease on anybody. In fact, I stopped doing the dumb Indian one because I thought it was intentionally teasing. And even if it's a cartoon character, I'm not out to tease on anybody. I want to be able to do something authentic. So I tend to stick a little bit more to my own lane. So for me to switch off to do Southern, that's part of my history, that's part of my heritage, that's part of where I'm from. So I come by that honestly, and I feel like I can switch off and do a Southern accent and feel really good about that. I'm doing something that's a lot closer to authentic, but still have the ability to switch off and do characters if you need a character. And if you're hiding behind a cartoon and you're doing some flamboyant, crazy imitation, that you're supposed to be over the top and everything. So I don't find that to be mocking in any way either. As long as, again, you got to know where that line is, I think, because we really need to be respectful of the dialects that we're trying on, and that's why I never try to do a dialect back to somebody in person unless I got their clearance to try it in the first place, and they'd have to know that I really am trying to learn it. I asked a Ukrainian coworker to help me. He's like, no. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. But anyway, I'll have to try that one. The Eastern Bloc accents are difficult for me to get into, whether German or Russian, Ukrainian, any of that. That's a tougher one for me than English speaking dialects are a little easier for me to work on. But anyway, all right, well, I hope that is helpful for you. Walk around and try to pretend you're from somewhere else. If you don't mind embarrassing yourself in front of others. Otherwise, just do it by yourself and listen to the voices in your head. Get out there and find your own voice or one of the many other voices that are rattling around in there. Bye, guys.